All right, here we go. I hope you are having a nice afternoon. Um, and let's get into this talk about UX. I'll start with a question. What is, you think, the point in common of those three jobs? So a janitor, a sound engineer, and an air traffic controller. What do you think is the thing they have in common? Well, my point here would be you never remark their job unless it's done badly. What I mean with that is that you are never going to remark and think about the fact that when you listen to a podcast, the sound is really good, or that the flight was on time, or that the hallway is clean. For you, it's normal and you don't even remark it. But if they do the job badly, so let's say your plane is late, or you can't actually hear what the host is saying in a radio show, or if the hallway is disgusting, then you'll think about it. But otherwise, you never see and you never think about their job unless it's done wrong. UX is exactly the same. There's this idea of if you do it entirely correctly, nobody should actually notice that you're doing it right. It's always when you do it wrong that people actually think about it. This is what they call in design, and it's not from me, it's called invisible design. This idea of when the design reaches a point of quality really high, it actually disappears and people don't even remark that something has been designed here, something has been done. To give you an example, nobody ever said, oh wow, that field label is Odoo is so clear, I love it, right? But if you spend 10 minutes trying to understand what this actually does, then you will complain about it and you will say, well, the UX designers at Odoo are really bad. So today we are here to actually talk about this. The things that users are not supposed to see, but still that we changed in Odoo. And you see I did exactly the same with my cover slide. You've seen this slide a million times already today. You never pay attention to it up till now. Here you are wondering, what the hell, I cannot read what's written there. Something's wrong. That's the exact same idea. So if I show you the normal slide, all of a sudden you just glance at it and you don't really think about it. But if it's done wrong, then you remark something wrong. Anyway, I'm really happy to be here to talk about this. My name is Luc. I work as a product owner in Odoo. It's been quite a few years now, mostly on CRM, marketing, and this year the big thing was AI, where we launched a new app with all the new features. And I wanted to have a talk that's more sort of a workshop where we can show features that normally we don't show because they're not super cool, super huge or anything. But I think that those changes are just as important for our Odoo users. And so I wanted to maybe give you a few ideas in case you are working on your own module, your own product, designing something on your side. As always, we'll have some time for a Q&A at the end of the talk. So here is the QR code and the link. You can just add anything there, and at the end of the talk, we'll go through those. If you want to discuss more than that on this topic, I would be really happy to. You can just come to the product booth and we can have a chat about whatever you're working on, for example. All right, without further ado, let's take a really classic example to once again illustrate what I mean with this idea of invisible design. It's not from me, I'm not that smart, it's from Don Norman, which is the superstar in terms of usability and design. It goes like this. You are in a kitchen that you don't know very well, and you are supposed to turn on the top right stove, okay? The thing is, you've never used that kitchen, and you see the knobs, I've numbered them to make it easier for you, they are in a vertical line. Now, if you had to guess which button to press, would you be able to guess and be 100% sure of which one you're supposed to press? Not at all. Why? Because you don't have any clue of where there should be a line. Is it like this? Is it like this? Is it like this? This is the kind of things where you will need to try again and again until you actually make it work. That's a pretty poor design. On the other end, if I just put the buttons like this, all of a sudden you will never ever think about those stoves because, well, it just makes sense, right? With this, you're able to have a clear mental representation of how it's supposed to work, and even without having a look at the inside, at the cables, etc., you guess straight away how it's supposed to work. Our goal here is to do the same, is to show you, I will show you a few changes in Odoo that are sometimes not even noted in the release notes because they're not worth an announcement, but we know why we are doing it and we know it will have a really good impact. The first thing, of course, is whenever we work on Odoo, we need to make sure it's simple. Now, for us, it's easy to get caught working on really cool features that can do anything for your business, but let's be honest. As product owners, our job is to make sure that Odoo can be used by anyone. A lot of people here never heard about Odoo, came to the Odoo experience, will think, wow, that's really cool, I saw a few demos, I want this at home, and they will just go on odoo.com and create a database. Our job as product owners is to make sure that they get how it works and that they can manage to do the things they want to do. It seems easy like this, it's really not, because most of our users, they're not young tech-savvy people. They are people that have a real job running a business and they don't have 2 hours to spend to just learn what this button is actually doing. So we need to make sure that everything we do is as simple as possible. It's this notion of onboarding. You need to get people on board, otherwise you're just losing them. When people create a trial on odoo.com, they stay maximum 5 minutes. If they don't like it, they will never ever come back and they will think, this Odoo CRM thing is really not for me, I didn't understand anything. So our job is to make sure that step by step, when they are trying a new app, we make sure that we get them to a place where they say, all right, that's cool, I want to use it for my business. Let's take an example of a change that we did in this version that I think is a really good example of how far you can go with that. Let's say you create a new database and you install the employee app. We could have a screen that looks exactly like that. In a way, nothing is off, right? You say, well, you don't have any employee. So what do? We say, nothing to show, no employee, done. The thing is, look at all the wasted space and more importantly, look at the wasted opportunity. You have some space here to teach someone to the user that's opening the app for the first time. So what did they do instead of this nothing to show? They added what we call an empty screen, that is something that we show when we have nothing else to show. If you have employees, we don't need to show you that. But since you don't, we can show you, for example, with just a few icons, well, actually Odoo can manage your planning, manage your lunches, you have an e-learning app, and by the way, if you want to really give it a real shot, we have a button where you can load sample data, and with just a click, you can try it with data that makes sense instead of starting from scratch and just looking around on how to get started. Another example, when you open the user preferences in Odoo 18, it looks like this, and it's just too much. There are fields all over the place, buttons all over the place, and we know that no one's going to go to their user preferences to request an allocation, for example, or to request a time off. You do it from somewhere else. Same, you see at the bottom of the screen, we see there's a field email signature. Digital signature, even worse. Who is going to go in their own user preferences to sign in advance, in case they even one day need to sign something? Nobody does that. You just sign when you need to, we keep it in memory for you, that's it. So if we remove all the useless stuff, instead of a form that looks like this, we have something really simple that can fit in a pop-up screen where you just have real preferences things, and we know that when you open that as a user for the first time, you have everything that you need. And you see here, for example, if I have live chat installed, I have some live chat options. Second point to always keep in mind, and it's really hard, I said it and I'll say it again, keep it user-centric. You are not the user. It's really easy to forget that people don't know how computers work as good as you do, how internet works, as anything in the system works. So you should make sure that you are taking into account that your users are not you. They are people that maybe don't know Odoo, they never use a CRM, maybe never use a software, maybe before trying Odoo they were doing everything with a pen and a paper. So make sure that you don't consider that the user has the same knowledge as you do. And also don't think that they work the same way you do. Whenever you open Odoo in version 18, when you open the Contacts app, it looks like this. And we were really happy with this screen because you see there's a lot of smiling faces, a lot of icons, information. It looks pretty cool and we were really happy with it. The thing is, we are working on the testing environment with testing data. In a real customer database, this view looks like this. Why? Because who is going to take pictures of their suppliers and customers? Nobody. And who is going to do that by taking the picture from LinkedIn? Stalkers, and this is not going to happen. So, if we don't have pictures, there's no use to put cards like this. So what do we do instead? We show you a list. After all, way more effective. So first, when you open the contact app, you see that now it's a list. We have the stats, so that we can see directly, the colored pills. This is a contact with which you already work with because you have some documents. And if you don't have an image, which is pretty usual, we just create one for you. It's, as you've seen maybe in a lot of other systems, we pick the first letter, put a random colored background, all of a sudden you have something that looks much better. This is not going to be showed in the keynote, but I think that's something that changes a lot the pixels you will see every day working with Odoo. Anyway, another example, we've built a really cool agent with which you can discuss, and it can help you do a lot of awesome things. The first version, to discuss with this agent, you needed to do Control-K to open a shortcut and then search for its name. It's really cool when I do it as a product owner testing the feature, but nobody will ever be able to find this, right? There's this idea of your feature needs to be discoverable. People that don't know it even exists should be able to find it. So what do we do instead? We put a button in the top bar. We are sure that with this colored icon, people will see it and they will be curious, they will click there, and then we know the feature works and it will get them there. But we could do more, because after all, who knows what the AI in Odoo can do? You never know it in advance. Is it supposed to be able to call your customer, just write text? You don't know. So what we do is we add a few default prompts that you can just click on to just see what it can do. For example, the first one says, show me the latest product purchase order from the supplier Azure Interior. I know very well that you don't have one called Azure Interior in your database, but it doesn't matter. What we are trying to show to you is it can actually search inside the database, and it can, and you can ask questions about your data, and it will be able to reply. Same for the others. Blog IDs from our product catalog. All of a sudden you get, okay, it has access to my product catalog. Maybe I don't need to blog, but now you know it's working like this. So what we have here, and you can try it on the last version, we have a list of something like 10 to 15 default prompts, and we randomly open 3 of them whenever you open it to show you all the different things it can do. That's not a feature per se, but without this, the feature doesn't have any added value because nobody will use it, because how can you guess what it does? The last, I would say, it's really cool if you can manage to make sure that your user feel good. It's all about usability as well. We all feel really bad when we feel stupid because we are, for example, in a public toilet and we cannot manage to get water because the button is hidden somewhere. It's the same with the software. When you're trying to do something with the software and it's just resisting and not doing what you need, it's really a pain and it makes you feel really bad. Again, people maybe were not using CRMs or not using ERPs. You need to make sure that when they use it, they don't feel dumb, they feel the opposite. They feel like they become superheroes and they can do much more, etc., etc. So, how can you make sure you make them feel good? A good example is what you've seen in the new e-commerce flow. Of course, you could yourself configure your page and get any of those screens if you spend like 10 to 15 minutes to get this. But it doesn't make sense because our users won't do it. So if we just say, okay, we've installed the CRM, good luck, have fun with all the parameters, people will say, yeah, Odoo is maybe cool, but I think that their e-commerce page, they look really bad. And they would be wrong in a way because we have options to make it look cool. But if we make the options tricky, we're not getting there. So what we do instead is we show you different templates and we say, well, we know this looks good. We have some templates that are here. You can just click and you can just get it for your own database. Now, in the 5 minutes that the user are giving us, we are making sure that they get to this point where they say, oh, wow, this e-commerce looks good. I think I could sell my stuff from there. It's what you call the aha moment in UX. It's this idea of people are testing and they're not sure. They've heard on the radio, yeah, this Odoo stuff is pretty cool. And they say, well, I will give it a try. You want them to reach that point where they get to a result and they say, aha, okay, now I get it. I see the added value here and I can see that this actually makes sense. It will help you in my daily job because it actually helps with the problem that I needed to solve. Again, you saw maybe when you have to assign a user, not a huge change in terms of technical change, there's no technical progress here, but when you have to assign opportunities, it changes a lot. So what do we have here? We are trying to change the salesperson on the opportunity. We have a lot of information that are displayed now on top of the name of that user. For example, Mark is actually off, he will come back later tomorrow. Okay, so if the lead is urgent, I'm not going to assign this one. And if I'm not sure of who to assign, well, Mitchell admin, I see here is the team leader of that specific sales team. So if I'm not sure, I can just put it on Mitchell and Mitchell will make sure to dispatch it. Not a huge change in terms of code lines, but it changes how easily users get the information they need instead of having to travel to different screens. Another one that I really like, maybe you've seen it already, that Rainbow Man that gives you a digital high five. We made sure it would happen in more cases in the CRM. It looks maybe a bit simple or childish, but whenever we do user tests, people are really happy. You are closing a deal, you've been working on it for a long time, and the software says, yeah, good job, so great. It sounds maybe simple, but it does work. It's like, you know, when people create a trial database and there's this firework animation, whenever we listen to a user test, people always say, oh, it's so cool. And those are just fireworks, and that's nothing to do with Odoo, but it puts them in a good mood because it looks really cool. And to finish, this is my personal pet peeve. This is the fight I am having against basically all screens in Odoo. I really hate all the confirmation screens, so we've been changing them a lot, little by little, but there are so many of them. I'm on the website, I've been designing a page for quite a long time, and then I click on discard, let's say by mistake. In version 18, I would see this. If you discard the current edits, all unsafe change will be lost. You can cancel to return to edit mode. First, it sounds technical, it's pretty long, and the buttons that I have are OK or cancel. What does OK mean? What does cancel mean? I have no idea, I just have to take a random pick and we'll see, maybe I will lose all my work or maybe not. What I prefer instead is to make sure that we have models like this, for example, discard changes or keep editing. If your button is a verb, all of a sudden it's way better than just a OK, because people know what that will actually be doing. And again, we try to explain why we are actually asking for confirmation. It's not just because we like to make them click as much as possible. We say if you do, they're gone for good, so make sure that you actually want to do that. And then all of a sudden, it's really easy to know which button you need to click, because there's no doubt you have real action verbs instead. So, to summarize, a few tips, we show a few things in Odoo, but just so you keep it in mind, make sure that whenever you're designing something, keep it as simple as possible, make it user-centric. You are not the user, they're probably not as knowledgeable as you are, and make sure that they feel good when they use your product. That's the whole point. We're not building a software so that people cry whenever they need to confirm a sale order. We want it to feel like a breeze and to have them happy and then work on other things. So go on and design your invisible changes. It's a bit disappointing because people will not remark it, but in a way that's the whole point. Thank you for your attention, and I will go through the Q&A. So we have the pad here. Amélie will have it on her phone, so if you want to ask an extra question or if something wasn't clear, you can just go and we'll chat about those.
Hello, thanks for the talk.
Thank you.
We have several questions already.
Yeah.
The first one, there are always a lot of fields available that you don't use. Can you do anything smart to not hide those fields at all, but make the screen looks more clean?
We are always looking for fields that we can remove in Odoo. It's easy to add fields, but it's really harder to remove, but we try to remove everything that we consider not needed. If you do it for your own database, you can easily with Studio make them invisible. Or if you have access to the environment because it's your own database, you can even remove the fields. But usually just hiding them is enough to have a screen that looks exactly how you need it to look.
Okay, thanks. As a UX designer, can you create Odoo design system on Figma?
So I work as a product owner, so I'm not exactly a designer, but we have a team of designers and they do work with Figma to do things that are really neat and pixel perfect. For example, when you see the website configurations and the templates, they probably started with Figma to agree on the exact design. As a product owner, I usually don't go that far because I don't have to. It's more a matter of finding the right icons, wording, and removing things that we don't need, basically.
Okay, perfect. Great talk. I love that you reference Don Norman. You much researched. How much research did it take you, sample size-wise, when researching this new feature?
It's pretty easy because we have a lot of changes like this. The thing is, it's sort of a priority as product owners. So here I'm only showing changes that I know about because either I worked on it or they're sort of famous. For example, the e-commerce screen, I saw it in the keynote as well. So it's a clear example. But if you open, for example, inventory, timesheet, project, you have a lot of changes on the same ID. I'm just not aware of all of those, and I didn't have a lot of time. So if you compare old versions of Odoo, usually you should think, yeah, it was really ugly and cluttered compared to what we're doing now.
Yes,
hopefully.
Each year that's better and better. That's what we try to do.
Exactly.
We hope so.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. How do you verify if the change were helpful for the users? You explained that you notify that, for example, you really see the impact.
Yeah, I would say there are two kinds of changes. There are changes that we know are better because really it wasn't that great. But of course, we are not the users, so we do a lot of user tests. We have platforms where we can ask people that never work with Odoo, try to create a sale order and confirm it. And what's really cool is that they are asked to think out loud. So they say, oh, now I'm looking I can blah, 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 and they comment everything. And so you can see all the steps where they had issues, all the things that are not clear. And for example, they read a button, they say, oh, I wonder what it does. It means the button is not clear, etc., etc. So mostly by doing user tests. I mean, that's the best way to...
Okay, and so that's really online session, there are never real session with real people that came, for example, at the farm?
Sometimes we also we take advantage of the new employees that don't know Odoo yet, so that they test. But let's be honest, they're usually people that are good in IT and have already worked a bit with Odoo. So if we really want to make sure we have someone, for example, that's 65 years old, working in the other side of the planet and an English native, because we try to have everything clear, but
panel.
Then we have a lot of parameters that we can add, and we can ask that sample of people that look like this, and then see how they manage to do things or not inside the database.
Okay, thanks. Why having two call to action and as a X, were these three different action or in a model? This is
Yeah, it's debatable. Usually we try to have only primary buttons, so the one that's in purple. But in some cases, it's really tricky to know which one is primary. Again, I'm not saying everything I've showed here is perfect. I'm sure it will change by next year. But sometimes it's a trade-off, and it's better to have two clear buttons, even if we know that they should be able to pick just one.
Okay. One question that is still written. What are the more successful? I cannot read it. I need to make. You see? I need to go myself.
Yeah.
What are the most successful onboarding journey for Odoo Online? Do most people come in through the website module or others?
Yeah, I think most of the trials are for the websites. In terms of apps that work really well, the CRM is pretty easily handled. Yeah, people, even as a consultant, when you need to train someone on the CRM, it's really just easy. One call and then you're good. Because it's an app, I think that's really mature and really clear about how you're supposed to do things. And I really like the website one, even if it's not something I've done, because it's really great to be able to have a website that looks good, so that even if you don't like it exactly like that, at least you know it's possible to have something that looks good, instead of something starting from a white page and then having to do everything yourself.
I got feedback of your client that some fields are not clear, whether they are filled in or not because of a placeholder, especially in the contact form. Any plan for improving this?
It depends on which version you are, but I think they already increased the contrast between the fields and the placeholders. I think we already iterated a bit on that.
16.
Yeah, so it's been improved since then. for sure. In probably between like 18 and now, you can just give it a shot, and I think you'll see the difference. Yeah, I think we're done.
Yes, we are done. And I still see some questions, so if you have still some questions, don't hesitate to discuss with
Yeah,
Luc
for
afterwards.
sure, I will be happy to.
So thank you for the question and thanks
Thank
for
you
the
for your
call.
time.